All right, so this is day 2 of factoring quadratics. Good news is there's not any new material added to this lesson. It's just practice with factoring quadratics. But before we do that, let's do this warm up right here. It says convert y equals x plus 4 quantities squared minus 36 into standard form. Then convert the standard form into intercept form. So first, we want to go to standard form, which means, remember, that we want to expand it. If you want to expand it, we want to multiply it out, and then we want it in the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So all of these below are in standard form if you want to take a look at them, okay? All right, so let's do that first because it says convert it to standard form and then intercept form. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write the y equals so I don't forget it because you need it in your final answer. And then I'm going to expand x plus 4 quantities squared to x plus 4 times x plus 4. And then I have minus the 36. Don't forget that that's the most common thing people forget is to subtract 36. Okay, so I have to multiply out these two binomials first here. So I am going to distribute my x, or do first times first, which is x squared. Distribute your x again, which is outer, so plus 4x. Now I'm going to distribute this 4x, that's inner, plus 4x. And last, 4 times 4 is 16. Don't forget the minus 36. And now I am going to combine like terms. So I have y equals x squared plus, these two I can combine, that's 8x. 16 and negative 36 is minus 20. So this right here is my standard form. Now the next part of the warm-up says, then convert that into intercept form. So remember, intercept form means to factor it. That's an exclamation point. There we go. Factor it. So let's do intercept form now. You are going to take your form and look at it. Here it is. All right, so remember what you have to do. You're going to make this, first you're going to look for a GCF. X squared, 8x, and negative 20 don't have anything in common. Then I'm going to make my organizational X here to organize my information. This is A, this is C. I'm going to do A times C. 1 times negative 20 is negative 20. That goes up here. B goes down below, which is 8. So now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me negative 20 and add to give me 8. So I have 1 times 20, which is not going to work. I have 2 times 10. That, if I subtract them, I can get 8. I would have to make the 2 negative. That'd give me a negative 20 when multiplying and 8 when adding. And now remember, don't forget to divide by A. So divide by A, your lead coefficient, which is 1. Now I can write my intercept form. Don't forget the y equals x minus 2 times x plus 10. And there's my intercept form. Okay, so the rest of these say convert the following quadratics from standard to intercept form. So you want it to intercept form, meaning you want to factor. Okay? All right, so here's our first one. Remember, the first thing you always look for is a GCF. There is a GCF here of x, so I can factor out the x. There's an x that this and this have in common, okay? So I'm going to factor that out. Whoa, I'm going to factor that out. And now I'm undistributing it basically. So x times x will give me the x squared. 4 times x will give me the 4. So now I have my two factors. It's x and x plus 4. Now, x plus 4 is no longer a quadratic, so this is done. This is no longer factorable. Okay, let's look at the next one. First thing I look for is a GCF. Does 3x squared and negative 48 have anything in common? They do. They're both divisible by 3. So I'm going to factor out the 3. So undistribute 3 times x squared will give me a 3x squared. 3 times negative 16 will give me the negative 48. Now, unlike the last one, where this was an x plus 4, which is a linear binomial, I have a quadratic still left here, and we know how to factor a quadratic. So this is still factorable. So you're just looking at x squared minus 16, okay? So you're just looking at the x squared minus 16. And you need to factor that now. So I need a times c. A is 1. C is negative 16. There is no b value. This is the same thing as x squared plus 0x is minus 16. Keep that in mind. Okay, so I need two numbers that multiply to give me negative 16 and add to give me 0. So that's 4 and negative 4. Don't forget to divide by a, which is 1. So you have x plus 4 and x minus 4. So now I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to write y equals, don't forget your 3, and I have x plus 4 times x minus 4. Make sure you don't forget the 3 in front, because if you do, if you just had this as an answer, that's x squared minus 16. This is an x squared minus 16. Okay. All right, let's try another one. First thing I look for is a greatest common factor, GCF. Do these two things have anything in common? They sure do. They have a 4x in common. So 4x times x will give me my 4x squared. 4x times negative 2 will give me my minus 8x. Notice this is a linear. There is no square in it, so this is done. Moving on to the next one. All right, next one has three terms, x squared, 9x, and negative 36. Do they have anything in common? No. But there are three terms, so I'm going to use my x here to organize this. Remember, your a value is your value in front of your x squared. Your b value is your value in front of your x. And your c is your constant, the one that has no variable on it. So you're going to do a times c, which is negative 36. Add to give you b, which is 9. So I need two numbers that when I multiply them, I get negative 36, and when I add them, I get 9. You might have to run through your factors. You can use a calculator to help. So if you need to start with 1 and 36, which will never give you 9, so that's out. 2 and 18, that will never give you 9. 2 minus 18, 18 plus 2 will never give you 9. Moving on to 3. 3 does go into 36 12 times. 3 and 12 will give me 9 if I subtract them. So it's going to be a 3 and a 12. Now I have to make sure I have one that's negative because it multiplies to give me negative 36. Which one would have to be negative to add to give me a positive 9? The 3 would. Now I'm going to divide by my a value, which is 1. And I have my two factors. Y equals x minus 3 times x plus 12. Next one. Look for a GCF first. Do these three terms have anything in common? No. But I could still try to factor it using this x. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me a times c. A is 1. C is negative 40. 1 times negative 40 is negative 40. And add to give me b, which is 6. So I need those two numbers. Okay, so let's run through my numbers here. 1 times 40 will never give me 6. 2 and 20 will never give me 6. 3 doesn't go into 40 evenly. 4 and 10 will. All right, which one do I have to make negative? Because it's negative 40. I would have to make the 4 negative to still add to give me 6. Divide by a, and I have my two factors. Y equals x minus 4 times x plus 10. All right, next one. I look for a GCF. X squared, negative 2x, and 1. They don't have anything in common. I'm going to use my x to organize my information. This is a, b, and c. A times c is 1. B is negative 2. So I need two numbers that when I multiply them, I get 1. Add to give me negative 2. The only two numbers that I know that multiply to give me 1 are 1 and 1. But 1 times 1 is 1, but 1 plus 1 is not negative 2. So I have to realize that if I make them both negative, that still multiplies to give me positive 1. And when I add them, I get negative 2. divide by a, which is 1, and I get y equals x minus 1 times x minus 1. Now, if you want, you can write this as y equals x minus 1 quantity squared, right? Because if you had to expand x minus 1 squared, you would get that. So either one, you do not have to do both. All right, next one. First thing I do is I look at all three terms and say, is there a GCF? So do they have anything in common? They have a 2 in common. So I have y equals 2, and now I'm going to factor out the 2. X squared plus 4x minus 5. All right, now I have to look at this, and it still has a square in it, so I have to see if I can factor that, the highlighted part. Let me erase these highlights. All right, so I'm going to make my x here. I'm going to change this to purple so we can put the 1 in right here for help. No, you don't have to always write it in. This is A, this is B, this is C. A times C is -5, B is 4. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me -5 and add to give me 4. I know 5 times 1 will give me 5. I need to make it be -5 though and add to give me +4, so I'm going to make the 1 negative. Divide by a, which is 1, and I have y equals 2 times x plus 5 times x minus 1. Don't forget the 2, don't lose it. All right, here is my next one. So first things first, look for greatest common factor, look for a GCF. This time they don't have anything in common. Make my x. This is A, this is B, this is C. I'm going to do A times C, 2 times 6, which is 12. B goes down here, which is 7. So I need two numbers that multiply to give me 12, and when I add them, I get 7. 1 times 12 will never give me 7. 1 and 12 will never give me 7, I should say. 2 and 6 will never give me 7. But you know what will? 3 and 4. 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 plus 4 is 12. All right, now I need to divide by a, which is 2. Now you're going to look at each fraction and see if it's simplifiable. If you divide by anything other than 1, one of the fractions is going to be simplifiable. So now I look here. 3 over 2 is not simplifiable, but 4 over 2 is. It simplifies to 2 over 1. So now I have my two factors. I have y equals 2x plus 3 and x plus 2. All right, last one. Look for a GCF first. Look at your three terms. Do they have anything in common? They do not. So I'm going to make my organizational X right here. This is A, this is B, this is C. When I say A, B, and C, this is A, this is B, this is C. All right, I need two numbers that multiply, I need to do A times C, which is -24. And then B is -2. Notice I make this line right here to remember to divide. I need two numbers that multiply to give me -24, and I add them, I get -2. All right, so I can start with 1 and 24. That'll never give me 2. 2 and 12. 2 and 12 will give me 2. So let's try that and see if I can get there. 2 and 12. All right, so one of them has to be negative. I have to figure out which one has to be negative. So they have to add to give me 2, and I go, wait a minute, 2 and 12 is 10. What am I kidding myself with here? They don't do that. So 2 and 12 aren't going to work. Let's move on to 3. Does 3 go into 24? 3 goes into 24 8 times. Will 3 and 24 ever give me 2? No. So let's move on to 4. Does 4 go into 24? Sure does, 6 times. So 4 and 6, and that will give me 2 if I subtract them. So I have to decide which one's going to be negative. This time it's going to be the -6 because I have to get a -2. If I made the 4 negative, it'd give me a +2. Divide by the a value, which is 8. Simplify your fraction. Now, both of these fractions are simplifiable. 4 goes into itself once, 4 goes into 8 twice. On this fraction, 2 goes into both. 2 goes into -6, -3 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times. So now I can write my two factors. Don't forget your y equals 2x plus 1, and 4x minus 3. And you're all factored here. All right, so go ahead and rate yourself on how you feel about converting to intercept